This is a hearing set today. There was an ex parte order that was entered regarding the custody of a minor child in this case. That order provided that Mr. Ashenfelter could file an objection within 14 days. He did file that objection. And so this is a limited hearing today, solely for the purpose of determining whether this order should remain in place pending a full evidentiary hearing, or whether there's cause to terminate the order at this time. Mr. Ashenfelter, I did receive your objection that contained some pretty detailed notes. I'm assuming that you wrote all those notes in on there, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I had a chance to review all the handwritten notes that you had placed in there. Was there anything else that you wanted to say today in support of why you think this order should not continue?
Just basically, in today's world that we live in, the stuff that Morgan had mentioned, I signed up to be a father, many years ago, and I've stayed true to it through all of it. There's no winning against this county. There's a lot of people against me. And as far as the allegations that Morgan has presented, there's no documentation. There's nothing written. There's nothing texted, emailed. There's no witnesses claiming these items. And Megan has Morgan right where she wants her. And Megan is very vindictive to me. I have followed everything per the custody agreement. I don't give any hassle with front of the court. Front of the court almost doesn't even know who I am. I stay on top of stuff. There was a very troubling past where I finally came out of it. And again, I had front of the court, state police, counselors, all asking, why am I here? I'm very saddened. My family is very saddened over this whole thing. I understand she's a child and I'm forgiving of it. I do not hold Morgan to, I've never lashed out to her. The court has basically, back in 2019, 2020, scared me beyond belief of just raising a child, that I would never raise my voice to her, and stuff where even Judge Barton said times are changing. I'm very embarrassed to be here. I'm embarrassed to wasting the court's time. And I know Morgan has till she's 16 to decide, but I can show you, and where I probably was the most hurtful thing is where Morgan says that I take photos showing that I'm a caring dad. Like I said, not only do I'm in my 25th season for the Department of Natural Resources as an officer there, and then also coming in my 24th season as a registered official for volleyball and basketball. I am well known around community, and no one would ever, I would challenge anybody to come before the court to state who I am to what Megan and Morgan have placed upon us this morning.
Okay, all right. So I guess one of the things that came through, and I come to this, Mr. Ashenfelter, from a really unique perspective, because I don't know you. I don't know Miss Fenlon. I certainly, don't know your daughter, Morgan. I don't know really anything other than what you've written and what Ms. Pala wrote in their motion about the background of this case or the history or anything else. So I really come to this with kind of a fresh perspective without any kind of prior knowledge of what's gone on between the two of you and your daughter. The main question I have for you that came through to me in looking at your responses and the documents that were submitted is the affidavit of your daughter, Morgan, where she, pretty strongly indicates that she's having some issues in terms of your parenting time. And so, if we set aside everything else, and I know you've indicated, and it certainly came through in your handwritten notes, that you feel that you haven't gotten, for lack of a better term, a fair shake from the court system there. And I understand that you feel things have been manipulated by Ms. Fenlon. But if we put all of that aside, is it your view that Morgan, in her statements in her affidavit, has been so influenced by her mother that she's making up, and I'm not talking about the factual things, I'm talking about where she expresses her own personal feelings about it. Do you feel that she's been so influenced by Ms. Fenlon that she would be willing to make up those feelings and those pretty strong things that she stated in there? Is that kind of where you're at with it? You don't feel that these are her true feelings?
No, it's kind of like a two-part question. No, I don't believe those are her true feelings. I think Morgan is coming to a point of a teenage life, and obviously, some things are more important than family. And what I tell Morgan, as far as, like events and stuff like that has happened, that I don't have to, but I do work. I still work with Megan, even though I shouldn't. I should probably just work with the front of the court, but that's a needly process. I pretty much have focused my time through Morgan, other than a really bad situation where she got caught up into a big lie during Fair Week, such as where the last custody case that dragged on for pretty much the year of 2019 and the mid 2020 was that if something comes up that we know of, we can rearrange, such as like homecoming football would be one, that if it's during one of my weekends, that maybe I can substitute that date for a different date. As far as the emotions and the feelings that she addressed, that has not been noticed by any family member or any person of the community or anybody that what I want to say is, when I have Morgan, we're larger than life. We travel a lot and we see hundreds of faces, and no one would ever indicate what she stated in her statement. I've always looked at what's in Morgan's best interest as far as custody time. She didn't ask for any of this to happen. That was something between her mom and I. And I don't want to go into that drama, which is part of the non-fair shake of the community system involving herself and Ron Fenlon being the DARE officer. But I've always looked at what was in Morgan's best interest. And at times I hold her higher than a child as far as being able to explore. But at the same rate, there's certain decisions that, she is still a child and doesn't have the adult mindset where she's learning yet, such as like driving, making decisions for future career, stuff like that. She's caught in between the balance of she's still a kid some days, and then literally there's sometimes where, face it, you could say that she's more mature than I am. It's also embarrassing, like, when I go to events, people ask who's the girlfriend, and I said, come on, that's, she would be willing to admit I had never murdered the dog as indicated the lines that were fed to her on Megan's side. And I can only imagine all the stuff that Morgan has told. But she has never, I can't, maybe there was times where it was lied that Morgan was sick, that she didn't show up to my house. But Morgan, we go toe to toe. We're never isolated from each other. We're always in sync. Like I said, the hurtful thing was when she says that I take photos to prove that I'm a great father. I would say I have 500 plus photos of Morgan in frame, and not one of them shows her being upset, angry, miserable. It's a kid at heart having fun. And especially this time of the year, this is like our greatest time. I mean, we are hitting every apple orchard. We're going to haunted houses. We're traveling to Mackinac and Beaver Island for sporting events. We hang around a lot in the community. We do not sit at home. We are traveling. We missed a good truck show during this whole thing when it shook down. I always plan events for Morgan. We don't just sit around and do nothing. I don't know what you want to hear from me. I just, other than, like I said, I'm embarrassed that I'm here. I'm sorry Morgan felt that way. I don't think everything that was written in the statement was from Morgan. I think it was persuade. Like I said, in the world that we have, she's had an iPhone. Megan can answer this better than I can. I think she's probably had an iPhone for a good year and a half. For some reason, it seems like it was around a Christmas item. Never in any text message will there be anything of hatred. There's always, I love you, how you doing, care for you. She, you know, I could say that, you know, she could post any photos, you know, to show anything that would, can't think of the words, honor the statement. But there's nothing in those statements that can be proved. And I was a kid too, in a legal mess like this. And sometimes some things are bigger at life than what you think. And everybody thinks, you know, prom this or homecoming that. And in reality, when you graduate, it means nothing. It's where you're at, where you're going. I don't, to the knowledge that Morgan brought before me, I've never denied her. I do know that homecoming was probably during this time frame, but it was not brought it up. And Megan has always made the decision of travel soccer programs, summer camps, other events. And sometimes I'm always hit with that week, like, oh, hey, by the way, and it's like, you know, what can you say? Like, okay, so I'm the a-hole if I say no, and I don't, I go with it. I get it, you know, kids got to go places. I do what I can with what I got. I am stretched so thin, it doesn't matter between money and time. I have nothing. And when Morgan's over, I tell her, this is not how I live. I give her 100%. And then basically when she's gone, it's bologna sandwiches after that.
His frustration spills out, describing isolation, humiliation, and a system that's broken him completely.
Yeah, I'm not dissing some of the people in the courts. Chappelle was sitting there shortly after when Megan had to come and take items out of the house. I know a lot of people in the community, a lot of people in this community think I'm actually dead because I sheer far away from Sheboygan, that I am off the grid to these people. There's just some people that have done the worst, and here they are as their officers, here they are as undersheriffs. I don't get it. And congrats to Megan. She's got the best attorney, I think, in the county. And she can't take her former attorney because he's the judge. And she has a lot of connections, a lot of pull. Wherever she's mad, she walks across the hall or goes upstairs, goes to the front of court, and then I get slapped with papers. The front of court can say I've never gone to the front of court arguing against Megan. I've always been responding and on the receiving end. And I don't ever intend to cause any wake against Megan, but yet she just, I don't know what Megan wants. If she wanted me out of Morgan's life, she's doing a fine job of doing it. I came here as responding to what was said. I had nothing to know what was gonna happen. Other than the isolation game is huge. Having Morgan not around for over a month, in which I have not, the last time I texted her was after I received notice from Jeff Berg. I have not communicated with her because that's her strategy, hoping I'd screw up and slip. That I would contact Morgan and they would slap me with papers of a no contact order. It's the same event they tried pulling for 5-6 months back in 2019, 2020. And I've held resilient, never lost my cool, and they hate it because it only takes one word, one slip up that I could change it. And Megan's over there pumping her fist saying, yep, he did it. He finally screwed up. And like I said, I'm an open book. You can ask the entire community to come before me to testify against me, and nobody will, because it's the truth. I'm not, have I got slammed in the past? I did. And I've asked several times, was I completely in the wrong? And a lot of people say, no, it's what we did. I don't get why it is. There's schools, there's Christian schools, there's Catholic schools that are still spanking and swatting. There's still households. I'm sure everybody in this household got spanked, or everybody in this courtroom got spanked or has spanked their children. And that was the big turning point. I asked Morgan if she was, we had gone back and talked about it. And she has no regrets. I wouldn't say regrets. That has not been troubling, which thankfully she wrote that in that statement, that I did not go back to that. Because giving a child a spanking or 2 times a month cost me over 10 grand in lawyer fees, court fees, counseling sessions, drug analysis. I've never taken anything in my life. And I just wish the court could be more like that, where it's like, hey, go take a drug analysis sample, come back clean, good to go. I'll do that every stinking day of my life. And they can't ever find falter in me. I would live, I'd hate to say it, but I'd live with an open camera in my household to show I am not aggressive to Morgan. I'm not abusive to Morgan. I don't say nasty things to Morgan. I'm simply a father looking after his daughter. I am very protective of my daughter. Morgan knows with not just my experience with the community, but with Ron and Megan's response to the community, Morgan knows that sometimes, you know, we may tell her to, hey, hush up and just follow me, because there's somebody here that we may have arrested, somebody that we might have taken to court, somebody that's on our profile list, that just follow us, walk in, walk out. It's the life that Morgan has to live with her family in law enforcement and SEPA and stuff like that. She gets it. I love Morgan with all my heart, always have. I know it's not Morgan. Family knows it's not Morgan. Just Morgan's probably having an off day because she got told no. And she knows the system. She's persuaded highly by her grandma. And I could only imagine, I hate Ron with a passion. I think Ron and I have only spoke a handful of words since this all happened in 13 years. But I don't hold nothing against him. I don't. I think Megan strictly is the person. Ron, I would assume, just keeps his mouth shut and nods. I thank him for probably being a father role for Morgan. A lot of people have told me that too, that Ron is a good father figure. He's going to be in the school right there as a dare officer, so I know Morgan's okay. But I have no beef with Ron. Ron, I would assume, has no beef with me. Like I said, we've never talked. When they got COVID, I said thanks for a drug or a COVID test. When they both got COVID, I didn't wish the worst on them. I hope they pull through it. We don't speak to each other. We have no reason to speak to each other. I hate to communicate with Megan. It's a last resort that I have to. But normally I do not reach out to Megan. Any text is just because I have to. Because we don't want to channel through the front of the court. And that's simply just rotating days out as to if we could switch weekends. I'd like to say that I've always bent over backwards for Megan, for Morgan's best interest. Despite it's on the fly, on the spot. Like, how do you coordinate something that you've already had plans, and then the other one says, oh, by the way, this is going on. I have lots of.
I don't want to cut you off, Mr. Ashenfelter, but you're kind of starting to go over kind of the same ground, just in a different way. So I think I understand what your point is. I'm going to hear from Ms. Zucala, and then I'll give you a chance to speak again. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Zucala.
Your Honor, first, I find it very interesting that Mr. Ashenfelter made the comment that Morgan comes, I think he said Morgan comes, or the parties come from a very troubling past. I agree, there's been a troubling past here, and that troubling past is solely as a result of Mr. Ashenfelter physically abusing his own daughter. We're not talking about just a spanking here and there. We're talking about him using several objects to physically discipline his daughter on numerous prior occasions, which he admitted to: a spoon, kindling from a fireplace, and a cutting board. Those disciplines resulted in him being charged with child abuse against Morgan. Ultimately, he entered a plea to domestic violence against Morgan. It was as a result of those incidents that initially triggered some panic attacks in her, that have triggered sadness and depression in her. There was a period of time where she didn't have contact with her dad as a result of that criminal charge. That wasn't something she did. That wasn't something that Miss Fenlon did. That wasn't something that Miss Fenlon's husband, Ron Fenlon, did. That was something Mr. Ashenfelder did. As time has gone on, Morgan resumed contact with her dad, but the feelings that she had as she's gotten older had become stronger and stronger. I understand that Mr. Ashenfelter wants to come to court and he wants to point the finger at my client and he wants to say that Morgan is saying all of this because her mom told her to, or because her mom has been trying to alienate her against her dad. Or as he just said to the court a few minutes ago, Morgan probably had an off day and was told no by him. Morgan didn't have an off day. It's been approximately a month since the court's ex parte order was entered, and Morgan's not trying to initiate any sort of contact with her dad. And the reason for that is the reasons that were stated in the affidavit provided by Morgan to the court. The court should be well aware, and frankly, Mr. Ashenfelter should be well aware that when this motion was filed, Ms. Fenlon contacted me and requested the opportunity to come speak with me with Morgan about how Morgan was feeling. This was almost immediately after Morgan had gone to her mom and told her that she was having suicidal ideations. Ms. Fenlon contacted me and said, it's really important that I get in to see you and I get in as quickly as possible. We need to talk to you. This is serious. And frankly, I sort of underestimated how serious it was until they came to my office. I asked Morgan to talk to me about how she was feeling. She asked if her mom could be excused from the room so that she could be completely frank and honest with me outside the presence of her mom, because I think she was worried about how her mom would feel if she heard how Morgan was really feeling. And she laid it all out there for me. She told me exactly what's contained in her affidavit. She told me how she was feeling. And at the end of that conversation, I said to her, I'm going to file a petition with the court, but I have to talk to your mom about how you're feeling because we need to get you in to talk to a counselor and address these feelings immediately. The last thing I want is for you to harm yourself or continue having to see a person that's causing you to feel this way. I talked to her mom. Morgan gave me permission to do so. I talked to her mom. We resumed her counseling with Thunder Bay immediately. It is my understanding that Morgan's now been in counseling over a month. She resumed it at the beginning, or excuse me, end of August, immediately after Morgan made these disclosures to her mom and to me. It is my understanding, and Ms. Fenlon can elaborate more if the court needs her to, that the counseling has been extremely beneficial to Morgan. Both the counselor and Ms. Fenlon have seen drastic improvements in Morgan's demeanor, in her behavior, in her general outlook on life. I can tell the court that the counselor has represented that Morgan should not be having contact with her at this time, that she is benefiting from counseling, but that this is something that's going to take a while for her to work through. And frankly, at this point, I'm not concerned about what Ms. Fenlon wants or what Mr. Ashenfelder wants. I'm concerned about Morgan's safety and her well-being and what is best for her mental health. And at this point, what is best for her mental health is for her to continue not having parenting time with her dad. That's based upon the opinion of the mental health professional that she's been meeting with consistently, who's been working with her and who Morgan has developed a relationship of trust with. I can tell the court that every single statement contained in Morgan's affidavit to the court was based upon a representation that Morgan made to me personally, outside of the presence of her mom. And I truly believe that the things contained in that affidavit are how she feels. And I'd also like to believe that Mr. Ashenfelter, to a degree.
The mother's attorney hits with shocking claims of abuse, and the daughter's cry for help. This changes everything. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.